States of America. Republic stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Martin. All right, next item is roll call. Everyone is present except for Councilor Eagleson this evening. And the third item on our agenda is public forum. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to be heard by the council this evening? Seeing none, I will close public forum at 7:01. And the next item on the agenda is to consider acceptance of minutes. And councilors, this evening we have one set, and that is the minutes from January 21st, 2026 regular town council session. At this time, I would accept a motion to approve those minutes.
So I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Councilor Ward, do I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Councilor Lamatina. Any discussion or changes to those? Okay, seeing none, if you could call the roll, please.
Councilor Blaisdell.
Aye.
Councilor Lamatina.
Aye.
Councilor John Bluth.
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone.
Aye.
Councilor Ward.
Aye.
Councilor Conlon.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Excellent. Well, moving right along, we are up to the report of the town manager. So at this time, I will turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First item is the deliberative session. As you know, is over and the ballot's been finalized. We'll be getting information on the various articles over the coming weeks to educate the public on the issues. Actually, we already done that. We have a guide out that is neutral. The department heads and I created a comprehensive voters guide for the town meeting, helping residents make informed decisions on the items on the ballot. The guide provides neutral, factual information, including what the article does, cost and tax impact, project details, and what happens if it passes or fails, and answers frequently asked questions. As you probably know, town cannot advocate for or against any article, but we can help people understand exactly what they're voting on. Hard copies are available at the town clerk's office, my office, and digital copies are available on newmarketnh.gov. In addition, we're going to be asking councils to sign up for work the polls on election day on March 10th. Please remember that 4 councils cannot work the polls due to being on the ballot. However, you can come in that evening to count the school district's ballots. So we will need you
Thank
there
you.
that evening. We're just going to trade off.
Yeah.
And that's just what we are right now for deliberative session. It's on Tuesday, March 10th, here at Town Hall, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And to go over the fiscal year 26 budget, as of January 2026, the fiscal year revenues and expenses remain on track. The town's general fund has collected about 90% of budgeted revenues, reflecting strong property tax collections and steady income from other sources. Water, wastewater, and other enterprise revenues are following seasonal patterns. Motor vehicles, permitting, wastewater revenues all tracking with expected ranges for this point in time of the year. And we've been getting our state revenue distributions against budget expectations. Then for expenditures, we've spent 58% of the operating budget. This reflects normal timing for payments for all personnel costs, wastewater capital reserves, employee benefits, and infrastructure projects, and all going as planned. Just the original budget is 18.6 million. We've spent 10.9, so we get about 7.7 remaining. So nothing out of the ordinary there. We have 2 presentations tonight, but before that, I'm first going to say recently there's been some increased attention regarding ICE activities and how they relate to the town of Newmarket. Just for the public and for the council to know, the town follows New Hampshire state law and its interactions with federal immigration officials. According to current law, New Hampshire municipalities are not permitted to establish sanctuary policies. Starting January 1st, 2026, local law enforcement was required to comply with ICE detainers, and any policy that restricts cooperation or limits lawful information sharing with federal authorities is unlawful. However, the Newmarket Police Department's primary responsibility is enforcing local and state laws, not federal immigration laws. The department only has contact with ICE when legally necessary. Our commitment is to public safety, due process, and protecting constitutional rights. Notably, local officers will not serve as agents of federal immigration enforcement. This approach allows the town to fulfill its legal obligations while preserving community trust and promoting overall safety. And now to some presentations. First, I'm going to ask the town engineer to come up to explain the Soul Smart Bronze designation for the town of Newmarket.
Good evening, Lindsay Butler, Town Engineer, and I'm going to introduce our liaison to Clean Energy New Hampshire, Katrin Casper, and she'll come up to explain the Soul Smart program.
Hello, nice to meet you. I have been doing some great work with your committee. It's really lovely to be here in Newmarket. Soul Smart is a project that we worked on to help towns throughout New Hampshire to really look at their solar ordinances and to figure out the best way going forward to make sure that they're protecting their communities as well as making solar possible. Newmarket has done such an outstanding job that you have won bronze designation. And so I just want to thank some people who I know worked incredibly hard on this. Bart McDonough in the Planning and Community Development Department. Bridget Brockman? Sorry, I have not worked on how to pronounce everyone. I should have done that. Land Use Administrator, Dave Adabins, Building Official. Joe Lamontina, Town Councilor and Member.
Lamontina.
Beautiful, thank you. Thank you so much for that work. And Scott McGrath, Chairperson, Energy and Environment Advisory Committee. And Lindsay Butler, your town engineer, who has worked so hard and been such a great liaison with this whole project to make sure that information was passed around and that we were able to get this done. So, really excited. Do you want This is your award. We have the actual, even the hardware to install it, something we're very proud about. So I would love it.
a screwdriver?
You know what? I don't know. It's a pretty intensive package, but yeah, I think you'll figure it out. I would love it if we could do a picture. Would that be okay? Is that something fun? You don't get awards very often, right? So let's do. What?
You don't need a hammer over there.
Yeah, come on over. Do you want to grab my phone?
I think you should be in the picture too.
I'll leave your hardware right there. Thank you. Yeah, come on and be in.
That's a nice phone.
I think I'll steal it, right?
Yeah, that was kind of my thing. How did you know? All right. Very good.
Actually, Joe, since you were part of this, would you like to be
I'm fine.
Okay.
Are you sure?
I'm
All right, I'm pretty excited.
You want to say something?
Those are so great. This is great. So you just put this up at home?
Yes.
Since we have solar?
Out of curiosity, where do people display it normally?
It might be nice.
In the town hall.
Somewhere? Okay.
Somewhere, yeah. I've seen them.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you walk in somewhere.
We can do that.
Madam Chair, if I may
Yeah,
just say something.
Sure.
I would like to call out Lindsay Butler. She has been like a mother, a babysitter for the energy environment. And she has gone above and beyond all the duty for the energy environment committee. I'd like to personally commend her and thank her for everything that she does.
You're very lucky.
Be a little extra
That's-
in Christmas bonus.
Isn't that when she was hired? I said, "This is yours now. Go run with it."
She's amazing to work with, and I feel really glad and lucky that we can do that.
Right? Thank you very much.
Lindsay, your truck sucks.
Before we get into the police presentation, maybe if you have questions for me, and then we
Do that
can
now.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments for the town manager on the town manager's report before we move into parking?
I have a question on the department report.
Yeah, we can do those now as well.
Okay.
Councilor Lamontina.
In the Public Works Director did mention that there's been an issue or significant frost heaves, and I did send a note over to the
Yep.
town manager about that. Like, is this going to be an issue, or do we know?
I mean,
It's nature. There's nothing I can do to stop frost heaves, but it could be an issue in the spring when we have to do repairs.
Yeah.
A lot of communities are having issues with potholes already, and other damage that way. It's been so cold, and if you get one little thaw, the water comes in and then freezes back up and creates the
It just seems, I don't know, worse to me this year than
Yeah.
it has been.
I agree.
Councilor Wood.
I just noticed on the human services page there's nothing.
We are working on that now. and she's out from an illness. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was like the
No.
yeah.
Other comments or questions for the town manager, either on the town manager report or on the department reports?
Oh, okay. Then I'll refrain.
Okay. Council Blackstone.
I noticed that there was a little girl in the back seat throwing shoes at her mother, and the police actually talked to the mother, talked to the little girl, and rectified the situation. I was wondering if that was a service that the police provides to the community.
Sadly, it does. Yeah, sadly, it is a lot more often now.
I think sometimes we have to.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to highlight, that was something that we were asked to do, which may not always be a great thing, but we certainly try and help out where we can.
My kid is so lucky I didn't know about that 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't have service.
Any other questions or comments for the town manager? Okay. Seeing none,
So
we'll
now I'll turn it over to
you.
the chief.
Good evening. So we have a couple different parts of what we're going to present tonight. You have a packet in front of you, and this basically is a copy of our ordinance with some basic changes that we're potentially looking to make. And one of the major changes that you'll find, those packets are for you to take and digest and look over it and see what you think. But some of the things that we're highlighting is, one, we want to increase the fines. They haven't been increased in a while, and currently we don't feel like they're doing the job that they're desired to do, which is to discourage people from, parking where they're not supposed to or over time limits. We wanted to increase some of the areas that are subject to timed parking. Some examples would be Water Street, and also it's referred to as the Bowl, but it's Exeter Street from the blinking light to Jerry Ave. There's parking there that is just free parking essentially all the time. So we wanted to include some of those areas. Also, we want to consider whether or not the Dame Road lot, which we now maintain and control, should be included in permit parking, and then some other locations, including the Beach Street Extension area. One of the things that I just added in at the last second was in regards to handicap parking and the fines there. If the town would like to up the fine to what the state fine is, it's currently $250 in our ordinance, and the state fine has been bumped up to $500. So I think $250 is a pretty good fine for that, although the state thinks it should be more. One of the big things that we wanted to talk about was the consideration of whether or not we would go to paid parking all the time, or times that we designate. And my Lieutenant Steve O'Brien is here tonight to give a little bit of a presentation on some vendors that we've been speaking to about the paid parking. And essentially, that would go from the current system that we have, which is very old and very archaic as far as the way it works, and I'll explain it to you, but we have timed parking on Main Street. In order for us to enforce that, we actually have to send somebody down. Somebody has to park, we have to send a parking officer down, they have to mark somebody's tire, come back 2 hours later. If a ticket is issued, then before the town sees any benefit as far as a fine, until they pay that ticket, that's a lot of time and effort expended. This system that we're talking about going to, people would pay as they park, and most of the revenue would come just from people, complying with the rules. Now we're getting revenue, or a little bit of it, if people violate the rules. So this would be a little bit different way to approach that. Most of the communities that surround us have paid parking. There's some that don't, like Exeter, but they're also investigating similar. They're a little bit behind us, but they're at the point where they're looking towards paid parking.
We have a picture somewhere, I think from the 50s. We did have paid parking at one point. So it's not new for Newmarket.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of benefits to it. One, it certainly could be a revenue source, but we're looking at it more as a source to compel people to park in different areas or incentivize them to park in different areas. I know that I've been to the traffic advisory committee, and we talk about getting people into these outer lots, and one of the ways to do that is to have paid parking in an area that would compel people to say, well, if I don't want to pay for it, I might go to some of these lots that are on the outskirts of town. As it is right now, you know, we do have a parking enforcement officer that works 20 hours a week, and it gets to the point where a lot of the parking spots that are taken up downtown are taken up by the same people. They get to know the the schedule of the parking enforcement officer, and a lot of times people end up parking for great lengths of time. You know, people that are working downtown, people that are living downtown, and this particular program, or one, we're trying to find a way to incentivize people to, you know, if you're working downtown, maybe go to one of the parking lots where they would park for the day and have it be free. And currently, we don't have a great system for enforcing that, and we're hoping that this particular program or some fashion of it will encourage people to do that. It also will give us opportunities to have people apply for and obtain permits online, which we don't currently have that system in place. We just recently went the ability for people to pay fines online, which has increased people paying their fines, because otherwise they had to mail in a check or come to the police station with the exact cash. You know, so it was kind of an old system. We really wanted to give you a lot of information tonight so you guys could take a look and see what you thought. But I do have the lieutenant here who was going to go through a short program about the vendors and the paid parking programs and some of the different components of that.
Could I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
We had a presentation on parking maybe 5-6 years ago, back when Kuiper, I remember, was still on the board. Do you
Yeah.
remember, were you there then?
Yeah, I honestly have been on the parking board since I was a sergeant, which has probably been going on 7 or 8 years now.
Okay.
And we honestly haven't made a lot of progress. In the middle of that was COVID, so things
Yeah.
kind of just, but that's part of the reason we're here tonight, is we're just trying to, you know, find something that we can move forward with and work on to get to a point where we have something that is more with the times and you know, provides a service to the town, and maybe, you know, frees up some of that parking downtown. You know, one of our biggest complaints is there is no parking, or we're not managing parking well, and we're trying to find a solution to that to not only, you know, help get people moving along, but maybe in the process provide some revenues to the town where they may be able to develop other parking infrastructure if this program supports that.
And just that would be one of my recommendations, is a very high percentage of all the revenues from the fines go back into a parking program that we could either acquire land or expand parking opportunities in the downtown. I know a lot of the communities, I mean, I don't think we're going to be going as full as Dover and Portsmouth, where their revenues pay for their garages, but it could help us with other opportunities.
And Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, you said at one time that the town can set up a specific parking account or program
Yes.
where the revenues go to that and then back to supporting different
Exactly.
parking structures or parking lots.
It can also it also can pay for additional hours for parking enforcement. So
Yeah, those are two ideas that were not part of the last meeting. The last meeting, as you remember, there was a lot of concern about the fact that now everything gets reported to DOT, everything gets reported to you know, the state police, and you know, that we suddenly become a portal, and there was a lot of concern about that.
Yeah, I don't think in this particular instance, the programs that we're looking at, there would be any type of reporting like that, other than the specific accounting of, you know, revenues and things of that nature. But
I can clarify. I think what that was is that speeding tickets, those kind of fines, the state collects. We collect parking fines, and they stay here at the local level. But But yes, speeding tickets, we don't receive any
No,
funds from
the
that yet.
one that was, you remember that guy came, right? Like, it was like 5 years ago. And they looked at the license plate, and if there was any tickets to that
Oh,
car,
yeah, yeah,
anything
yeah.
related to that car, it was automatically reported back.
Yeah, that's not a program that we're looking at
No.
right here.
Okay.
This is more about
Parking
paying
management.
for parking,
Yeah.
parking management. Specifically, most of the ones we're looking at are apps that people can do on their phone or call in on the phone and pay a fee, whether that, be 50 cents an hour or whatever. And that is just something that will be reported locally and would not be
Okay,
involved
great.
anywhere else. So.
I'll try not to belabor the point here. But right now, we have about 100 spaces between on-street parking and what's in our municipal lots. As the chief already explained, the enforcement strategy now for the time parking is very labor-intensive and very inefficient. It requires that we send someone down, they mark a tire, they come back 2 hours later. If the car's still there, they get a ticket. That's not really achieving the goal, which would be to make sure there's parking available to folks that want to visit businesses. Increasingly, parking is being recognized both in the private and the public sector as a commodity. More and more people are driving. Really, there's no more parking than there ever was. It's getting harder and harder to find a parking space. Parking management through paid parking is increasingly recognized as the tool to solve that. There was a study done in Washington, D.C. They got a little more involved than we're looking at, but they actually did a sliding scale where they used a variety of techniques to gauge how much parking was being used at any given time in a particular part of the city. The more parking was being used, they slid the price up. You showed up at 6 in the morning to get your space, you're the first one there, maybe you pay 50 cents an hour. You show up at noontime, now you're taking the very last space. They might charge you upwards of, I think it was like $10 an hour. That's way beyond what we're talking about, but they ultimately found after, I think it was that they did this for 4 months, that doing this was tremendously effective. It made sure that the overall use of parking was much more even. People were coming, conducting their business and leaving. Everybody was able to find a space. It reduced the amount of people just driving around trying to find a space. It reduced parking violations because people were able to find a legitimate place. So it achieved all their goals. This basically just says what I just said. Got ahead of myself. There's a lot of benefits for both sides. It's not just a revenue source for the town. It's actually a benefit to the business. If you own a restaurant, if you own really any business on Main Street, your revenue is dependent on more customers are coming. And paid parking has been found again and again and again to be the method that most effectively gets people to turn over those spaces.
And if I can just interject for 1 second, people paying for their parking where they're acknowledging and deciding they're paying is a much better way than us giving them a ticket and having them come in and be very frustrated about the fact that we got a ticket. I think people would rather pay a few dollars as opposed to getting those tickets. And of course, we need tickets to kind of discourage the behavior of some, but it seems to be you're not getting as many complaints when people are saying, okay, I acknowledge what this is costing me, and we think that's a better way to go.
So as I just pointed out, there's also other benefits than just the financial aspect. They did find that, or have found repeatedly, that paid parking ultimately will improve safety because people are going to park where you want them to park and not just wherever they find room to squeeze their car in. Just kind of a relevant note, I looked at our parking fines from last year, our tickets, and found that 71% of the tickets we wrote were to people that don't live in town, that were from somewhere else. So these are folks that are coming to town that are, patronizing downtown and not taking advantage of, but making use of that service that would otherwise, potentially contribute to the maintenance of those things, like the chief already pointed out. So I'll dive into the vendors. I'll give you kind of a 1,000-foot overview of the pros and cons of everybody here. Park Mobile is probably the biggest one in this area. They're currently the vendor that does Portsmouth, Durham, and Dover. They also do the Hampton Beach State Parks parking over there. by their own analysis of their in-house records, they told me they already have 2,500 registered users that list Newmarket as their home of residence. So they've kind of got that going for them if you want. There's a lot of similarity between a lot of the vendors. I mean, ultimately, we're all doing the same thing. We're all paying for parking through an app, for the most part. They don't have any startup costs associated with them. They make their money through, they take a little piece of every time somebody pays for parking, which they all do. That's how they all work. Park Mobile's drawback really is just, and most of them they don't do the enforcement side of it. They will let you pay for parking. It's up to us to figure out how we enforce that. Which gets into a little bit of most of the towns I talked to, and I spoke to the parking directors from Portsmouth, from Dover, Concord, Manchester, and Durham. Everybody uses a second entity for that side of things. They look at it as front of house and back of house. Your parking vendor is your front of house. Flowbird is what Dover uses. They do have an app, but they are very kiosk centric. They want you to buy the little meter that you go up and type your license plate in. They're very expensive to buy, they're very expensive to maintain, and they were just bought out by Park Mobile, so their future's kind of uncertain right now. They may be going away. That hasn't really been hashed out yet, it doesn't sound like. Like I said, they do have an app as well, but their big push really is they want you to buy their kiosks. They also don't have any enforcement tools. Passport Parking is the only one that does have all-in-one package. They have enforcement tools, they have permitting, they have all of it under one roof. Their drawback is they're very expensive. They're going to take the biggest piece of the pie in exchange for that.
Can you
Yep.
just speak to what are enforcement tools that they would be offering?
So,
I think he means the ability to ticket somebody if they don't comply with the rule.
Right.
So if somebody pays for the parking, there's no enforcement necessary. If they don't pay for the parking, or they're parking somewhere else, like Park Mobile doesn't have a program to write a ticket or issue a fine, where the enforcement tools with this particular brand, that's all included in one.
So you basically just have to press a button out of it rather than having to input the data into something else?
Yeah, potentially some of them have machines, so if you had the two systems, you may have to have a machine to issue a ticket, or we may still have handheld tickets where we would fill it out by hand.
The other one I saw was common recently is they take a picture of the license plate. They scan the license plate, and that goes to see if the license plate associated with that account has paid the meter. So.
Yeah.
Councilor Blaisdell.
When you said that, when you say here that it's the most expensive of the options, is that taking into consideration the fact that for the other options, other towns are paying for another service and what that additional cost is?
I'm sorry, say that one more time for me.
So the front of house and back of house,
Yes.
this is both included.
Correct.
Is the price where you're saying it is more expensive than the others, is that including the potential cost of the other ones that are only front of the house, since you also have to pay
Yes.
for back of house?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I did look at that, yes. And to answer your question a little further, the chief is correct, that they offer the ability to, usually it's a smartphone, so for whatever reason, it's usually Android, look up who has paid, how long they're paid through, and then there is a Bluetooth printer that clips to your belt that they can spit out a ticket through versus handwriting. The other vendors don't offer that as part of their parking package. They rely on a third-party vendor that also does some other things. So there's two really that everyone uses. Everyone universally around us right now for that side of it is using Cardinal Tracking.
Okay.
Cardinal Tracking is another vendor that they do permitting, they do your financial analysis, they'll generate reports any way you want to see it, who's parking for how long, how often, they'll break it down for you any which way you'd like. They'll automate those reports, they'll send them off to the council, to Steve, to whoever wants them. They also do that enforcement component of it where their software talks to, say, Park Mobile software to see who has paid right now. Is their parking still current, and do they follow the rules?
So what does Park Mobile? I get the interface that the user would be using to get to pay for parking. But what kind of data do they spit back out to us on the other end? Are they able to show us which lots or which spaces are most in demand? Do they track turnover? What kind of data do they provide that we can use?
The answer is what do we want?
Okay.
So they will let us, they call them zones. So if we
Right.
wanted to make, let's just say the block in front of the Big Bean, if we want to make that its own zone, we
Mhm.
can.
Yep.
And we can track how often that's turned over and how much money, or we can just say all of Main Street's going to be one zone.
Yep.
And Water Street's going to be a different zone, or it's really up to us.
Okay.
We can customize that however we want. And they all more or less offer that in one version or another, where we can decide how specific we want to get about it.
Yeah.
Within
okay.
limits, right? Like they're not tracking individual cars. Like they would be able to track whether a car paid, paid through the app or whatever, but they wouldn't be able to track exactly how long that car was there and where that car
Right.
went. They're
They're going to know how long a given user asked to park. They're not going to know how long you were really there.
Exactly.
You paid for 1 hour, you paid for 2 hours, whether you were there for 30 minutes or 45. That
They don't know.
track.
Yeah, there's no sensors down there that tell you that there's a car there or not. It's just whether people paid and when that car should be leaving. Also, it allows you, depending on what type of program we get, to do permitting, and it could tell you if there's a permit available in a specific lot or if that lot's full, things like that. But those are all different levels that you may get through the program.
Tom.
This is a good time I know Councilor Blackstone emailed this morning with a question. It's a good time to bring up the question he had, is can we use cameras in the enforcement actions? And in state law currently, we cannot. We can't do it for everyday things like make sure people park correctly. It's only limited to specifically uses such as they have to get permission to find a car because there may be an reduction or something like that. We can't use it for like speeding cameras or red light cameras or parking enforcement. State law still doesn't allow those things.
Councilor Dornblatt.
Yeah. And I'm sorry if I'm interrupting your flow, and if you would like to rather finish it first. And maybe I should wait till you're done. I'll wait till you're done, and then we'll ask. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No.
That's okay.
So the other thing, the chief already touched on this, that Cardinal and the other vendor that is sort of their direct competitor is called Park Loyalty. They honestly both do very much the same thing. Park Loyalty just charges a lot less to do it. The other feature they both offer is that permitting feature. Right now, you get a parking permit if you want to park in the Railroad Street lot. You got to come down to the police station, wait till the dispatcher has the ability to interact with you, figure out if there is a space available, fill out the application, all that stuff. It's process. This moves it all to online. They will customize a website. It can look just like it's part of the rest of the town website. You go on there, it will tell you there's X number of spaces in each lot available. You just tap to pay, and you're on your way. And that loads it into the system. So now, whether it's the parking enforcement person or it's us, we can just see, okay, yep, they've got a permit, we're all set, everything is good. The other features they offer in that realm that I thought were kind of neat is it gives you the ability to sign up for a list. So you want a space in the Elm Street lot and there are none available, you can say, please put me on the list. As soon as one becomes available, you get an email, hey, space is available now, would you still like it? Yes, I would. Boom, it's yours. So that's kind of a neat little add-on that I think we're currently not able to do.
Yeah. And they also receive their payment as a percentage or per mil per.
Correct. So Park Loyalty and Cardinal are going to receive their payment sort of on the back end, either through permitting or through fine payment. So if we do issue a ticket, they take a little piece of the fine, whereas Park Mobile or Flowbird takes a little piece of the paid parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Councilor Glisper.
So right now, with the enforcement, there's chalk, somebody walks through. What will that look like with the most ideal version of this? There's not cameras. There's no system that's going to tell you how many cars that are currently in the zone are supposed to be there. You have to run everybody's plate through a system still, correct?
Yeah.
Short answer, yes. They all have, like I said, most of them use some version of an Android smartphone where our parking enforcement person, rather than now marking your tire and coming back 2 hours later to see if it's still there, can just walk up to your car, type in your plate and say, yep, okay, you've paid, you're still good for another 37 minutes, I'm on to the next one. I'm not standing marking tires and coming back. It's just in real time. I can see this car's good, that car's good, this car's not.
I think theoretically, there's also programs, again, depending on what level you buy, that might say you have this many spaces on Main Street that should be open, or
Yes.
you know, these ones could be overtime. But it, again, it depends on what you buy, but it theoretically.
Great, you gotta be up at the
Oh,
moment.
I'm sorry. I think theoretically, it is gonna potentially, depending on what program you get, give you a notification that these spaces are open, and they're not open, and if you get a notification that the spaces in front of the Big Bean are all open and there's 5 cars parked there, then you know you have an issue, you know. So, again, I think as far as the revenue kind of it, side of it, the people paying because they're following the rules is where the revenue comes, and I think you end up with less of the enforcement side of it because there's an opportunity for people to take care of it ahead of time, and most people generally do that.
Councillor Dornbush.
Thank you. So I've been reading about, parking and parking management because we've been talking about it so much. There's this concept that one should aim to have between 1 and 2 spots available per block, and in order for people to still be able to find a spot. And of course you want your usage to be high. So in order to achieve that, you would use either restricting a time limit on how long you can park in a certain zone, or you can increase the fee per parking spot in a certain zone. So there are management tools, and I think that's kind of an exciting piece because we have these really high demand spots, especially on Main Street, and then we have spots farther on the ends that are less utilized, but just as wonderful and just as easy to reach where you want to go. So I think if let's say Park Mobile were to offer that kind of fine-tuning, that might get us to a point where we avoid the complaints about not being able to find parking, because we would be able to manage for availability just as much as we would be managing for utilization.
I definitely think that is part of this program, and the lieutenant can correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the vendors said something like that, and he described it a little bit in the Washington D.C. study, which was we're talking about specific times and specific locations, and I think a lot of places have been doing this where as you get closer to the prime areas, the price may increase, or if you stay there for longer times or specific times a day. And I think, that would be something that we would get into if we looked at and decided on a vendor, how can we fine tune this,
Right.
Other questions?
I have some questions, but I would like to get to the end of the presentation first before we.
I believe that was my
Oh, well, never mind.
Councillor Ward, and then Councillor Lamatina.
Yeah. So I know one thing that is probably be a concern for people. You did mention that employees do work here in town, and a lot of them do park in town. And during the summer months, it's not really a big deal it's not a huge deal if they have to park farther out. But let's say during this winter when we have the giant snowstorm, suddenly trying to get up and down the hill can become a problem. Is there any way we can make? I guess I'm trying to find the right way to say it. But is there anything we can do to make sure that the people who work in town don't have to pay extra to work in town and don't have to walk super far, like some sort of preferred parking pass or discounted rate for employees of the or for people who work in town?
I do think that there's some ability to maybe change on the fly. You know, some of the things that we can do with some of these programs is you don't want it on a particular day of the week, or you know, maybe there's a holiday where you say we don't want the parking, we're gonna, you know, make it. I wonder if during like weather events, big snowstorms, there may be an ability to just say, okay, we're suspending, you know, something of that nature.
A lot of municipalities do charge employees to park. That being said, they incentivize employees to park in outer lots by either being free or some of the employers purchase permits for their employees. But as for the municipalities, it's more like, okay, you can park a lot less, but you have to walk in from Depot or Bay Road or something like that, versus taking the ones right in front of the businesses.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
both Cardinal and Park Loyalty do offer kind of what Steve's describing, where they both call them something different. But essentially they create a system where employers can buy batches of permits, and then they get to dictate, okay, you work on Tuesday, you're going to get the permit on Tuesday, you work on Wednesday, we'll give you the permit Wednesday. It kind of gives them that control. So there are definitely a lot of options.
You just made me think of another option too that we were discussing that comes up frequently, and maybe some of you see this as you travel through, is there's a construction project going on Main Street. Somebody, you know, a guy's like, hey, I'm working on this building, I need something. So there's the ability to, you know, within the ordinance, if we change it to allow for construction permits, you know, basically, hey, if you're going to take up this spot, we're going to charge you a fee, but you'll have the idea that you can put a dumpster there, or, you know, put your construction vehicles there. So, you know, there's a benefit to both sides of it. Right now, you know, we struggle with, hey, you got to move your truck every 2 hours, and people are working on construction projects, and they're like, we just want to get the work done or something like that. But that goes with the, you know, maybe the special permits or the employee permits, the ability to flexible and do things like that.
Councilor Ward, and then we'll go over to you, Councilor Martin.
Well, one thing, would it be possible to get like a map of all the lots you were thinking of placing the? I mean, I know we have them written down, but it would help me if I could just see like on a map, like this is where we would put, and maybe that's part of a larger conversation on the zoning, but just where you guys plan to put lots and which ones you plan to be free would be.
So we had that conversation just at the last Transportation Advisory Committee meeting, and it's my understanding that the town planner is working on will be making a map with those lots identified, and so that we would have that available.
Yeah. Just to follow up on that, I think this is a bigger. Right now, we're giving you the 100,000 foot description, to the point where I wouldn't even recommend that the council is the organization that gets into the weeds of what the regions are. The Transportation Advisory Committee could do that, and I know there's a parking commission still out there on the books, but that could even be rolled into the Transportation Advisory Committee. That way, it's neutral. It takes the politics out of, because I get just seeing every other city that deals with it. If the council sets it, it becomes political.
Yeah.
Because they don't think of what's good for the greater good. They think, well, you know, I don't want to make that street because I know I've got a lot of business friends that are on there, so I can't put a meter there. I think you need to look at it. You need to have a neutral entity that recommends those things.
One very quick. You talked about kiosks. Is there an alternative to kiosks? Like the little. I'm thinking.
Well, that's a good segue. We didn't talk about kiosks really, and explain why.
I think, and Bill probably said the same thing. We only found one place that liked the kiosks. Most of the places that had the kiosks just say we're going away from that. They're a lot to maintain.
They're a pain.
They're a lot to maintain. They're in the way for wintertime plowing, and often they don't work. So most of the people are using a phone app or the ability to call and pay by phone, and that seems to work. And I think Lieutenant told me that as conversations went with the parking enforcement in Portsmouth, they had kiosks, but as they're going away, they're not replacing them. They're just going to the. There's a sign. that-
Sign.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my last one.
Thank you. Councilor
Does
Lamatine.
Do we have a time frame that you're looking to maybe implement this?
No, but I will say this, like I said a while ago, we've been working on this for a long time. I really think it could be something that we're trying to press forward to, I don't have a time frame, but I think if we could figure something out that works for everybody, the sooner we get it done, I think it would help alleviate some of the parking issues downtown. I really think the main benefit of this is it's going to get people moving around and having more parking available. The town may reap a benefit as far as some, financial benefit, but I also think it's going to help maybe expand our parking. What we're doing right now has been kind of pretty stagnant for quite a while, so we're just trying to move something forward, see if we can't change some of those issues.
Councilor Blackstone.
So, if and when this gets implemented, your name is not going to be gloried, right? I mean, this won't be well received within the community. So, I was thinking, I know we looked at Central Street to see if we could put parking there, and it's too narrow, but if this could be rolled out with some additional places to park, Elm Street, I'm not trying to be specific here, but if you could think about, could we look on Chapel or something? Could we, if we could add 10 or 15 extra spaces that we don't have now, I think that would go a long way.
I do think that I've had some conversations with Bart and occasionally with Lindsay about maybe identifying some streets where we could add some parking. I guess my name may be Mud, if I'm attached to that.
But
I'm
I
not
think if
worried
you
about-
could add 15 spots,
Yeah.
something, then
I
people
also-
would say, well, okay, but then now we can actually park here.
Yeah, I also think there's an opportunity here that this may change parking for people and make it better for them. If you can go downtown and let's just say that you're a person that has some walking difficulties, but now there's going to be a spot open, you don't mind paying a little bit extra to get right up front, then that may be beneficial to you. Or it may push people to some of these outer lots. And if this does bring in some
I think
revenue-
what you're saying will be true in 6 months after you do it. But the
yeah.
day you do it,
Well,
right?
I'm
It's
sure.
not gonna.
I'm sure.
And I'm saying the day you do it, if that day you announce, here's 15 additional spots we're doing as a result of this.
I do think
I think
that's-
that would help a lot.
I think that's a good point. I think people want more parking,
They
and
do.
I think that's our main goal here is to see what we can do to free up some of the parking we do have, and maybe also come up with something to figure out other ways to increase parking. And if down the road this pays for an additional parking lot or upgrades to parking, I think that could be a main benefit to this. But I think the way we're doing it is not a great system, and I think that we're trying to figure out a way to change it and make it better for everybody.
Right.
Councilor Dornblatt and then Councilor Glazberg. Oh, you're done. Councilor Glazberg.
So, do any of these, because all these companies take the money out of the fee, are there any of them that have an option to do like first 30 minutes free, first 15 minutes free?
Yeah.
All of them, I think.
Yeah, yes, they will all let us customize how we set the rate and whether we want to offer some amount of free time or whatever we want. They're all amazingly customizable and for lack of a better term, modular. They'll let us kind of build what we want.
Do we pay for that, like, because they're not getting any money from those periods of time?
I have
Town manager.
I think one
And then
thing
we'll come back to you.
another thing
And
we
then
need to
we'll come back
remember, we're not inventing the wheel here.
Right.
There are many communities around here who've already done this. If anything, we're just going to carbon copy a lot of what they're doing to implement this.
Yeah.
I mean, Dover does the first 15 minutes. I think Durham does as well.
Durham does half hour.
Half hour free. Portsmouth does this certain, if you're there more than 3 hours, you have to pay $2 an hour versus $1. They can even change it for holiday times and say, look, it's free now because we want to encourage shoppers during these days. I just don't want to go down the rabbit hole at this point where we're just throwing out an idea. If anything, like I said, I think the best thing would be is refer it to the traffic. I can never get the name right.
Public Transportation Advisory
Thank
Committee.
you. Advisory committee. Get in the weeds. Come back with a proposal, and go from there. And then hammer out the final.
Counselor, I can't remember who was next.
Blackstone.
Counselor Blackstone, thank you.
So, based on these comments, I would encourage you to get Tim Kremens or somebody involved in some of your discussions, because software, these two guys made their living on software, and you could fill rooms full of people, and so I would like to feel that we've not only, because we're not getting rid of a traffic person, right? But he still has to go around issuing tickets, and you're adding now a bunch of software, right? And that software has to be maintained. It has to be put onto a server or something, right? It's got to be plumbed in, right? And so,
I think in particular, most of these is maintained by the companies.
Yeah,
You
it's
don't
not-
we would just
And we
utilize.
don't. Tim's
Not
not
anymore.
that person.
okay, whoever that person is, we should just. I would like to have you say we've looked at the software from the town's perspective, and we've covered that as well.
I also think there's an opportunity when we get to that point to have, as the lieutenant has spoken to all of them, all of the vendors are willing to come in and give us a much more in-depth talk. But that may be something for the traffic advisory committee to hear from the vendors and then say, we all like this particular one. So, and then they could explain why, making that decision.
Counselor Trump.
I'd like to make a motion to refer the parking, the possible, or to ask the Public Transportation Advisory Committee to study paid parking in town and bring to the town council a recommendation of a possible vendor.
Is this a motion?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
we made and acted on? Okay, we have a motion on the table to refer this to the Public Transportation Advisory Committee, Council.
Seconded.
Committee. Okay, any discussion?
Just a.
Town manager.
Would you like to put a sunset on that? You don't want to be studying it for
No.
years. By beginning of the fiscal year, so July 1.
I think sounds good.
Okay. By July 1. Any discussion or comments? Okay. Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will refer it to the committee.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There we go.
You also take a look at the fines as well. Would you make recommendations on what the fines should be? Would that be
This
something
over
as well?
here.
I guess we could.
I think it's-
Yeah,
Okay.
we can take this up if you would like to, but I think that's,
I think if maybe you guys take a look at the stuff we looked at, and
Yeah.
maybe we can come back and discuss that. I did say there were two parts. One is the current ordinance that we wanted to change a few things,
Yeah.
including streets, and then this paid parking component. But we can either come back and talk to you again about that if you guys want to talk that over, and those seem to be relatively easy,
Straightforward.
changes. But I'll refer to the town manager, and he can and see what you guys want to do. Whether you want to take that up as one whole thing, or you.
I'd say separate them.
Okay.
Separate 'em.
me too.
All right.
I'm not sure we would have much input on this.
Thank you, Jordan.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
we're gonna do that at a different time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
We have to be able to read it. Yeah.
All right. Have a good night.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much,
Good night.
gentlemen. Okay. We will now move on to committee reports. Are there any committee reports this evening? Mr. Glazebrook.
Arts, culture, and tourism met. Really, the big thing is that the third statue design choice was chosen, and it will be alewife. It's a swarm of a bunch of little fish. It's not just one. It's like a clump of them. So that'll be exciting. And then I think there's hope for one more, but no idea yet.
A swarm of alewife.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Swarm was
I think it's a
a
school,
word that I just
probably.
used.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Usually fish are in schools, right?
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Glazebrook. Council Lemon?
Energy and environment. There's currently some legislation, Senate Bill 538, that will extend group net metering for cities and towns for 20 years. Clean Energy New Hampshire, the lady that was just here, and Community Power has asked that cities and towns send in a letter of support for that particular Senate bill, which, so the chair of the Energy and Environment Committee is going to be sending over a note to the town manager asking him to submit it on behalf of the town council. So I just wanted the council to be aware of that. Brought up a question to me that I started thinking about is, should there be some kind of rules as to what committees should do when it came to supporting or opposing legislation? Should we in fact always run it through the town manager, or should we do it on our own and turn that over to the town manager to respond?
So, Councilor Martina asked me this over the weekend, and I polled my colleagues from other municipalities, and I got a whopping one reply from my colleague in the town of Durham. And I like their policy. It's don't discourage committees from advocating, just making sure that those committees are only speaking for their committee. But run it through the manager's office. So if there is could be headbutts, try to slow it down.
Well, I was thinking, you may be aware of some stuff that
Yeah.
you may not be.
And that's it. And that's
the reason why not.
Yeah, and that's why he said run it through the manager's office and go that way. I mean, to be quite frank, there are times that I have to turn around a letter real quick saying we're against this bill, that I can't even go to the council because it's coming up so fast that I have to send a letter in. So it does happen that we can't go. It's not possible to come to the council for everything, but I think that's a good way to do it.
Okay, and I didn't want to overburden
Yeah.
you with, not that you're overworked.
Yeah, no. That actually a large part of I do is read the bills that are coming in now. So
Okay,
Yeah.
So I just wanted the council to be aware that we're doing that and asking the town manager to do that. There is a kind of a time constraint, although March,
26th.
Yeah.
we have like a month.
So just to stamp that, it sounds like the approach is if a committee is just acting for a committee, if somebody asked for the Energy and Environment Committee to send a letter in support of this, and the Energy and Environment Committee said, yes, we would like to do that, Godspeed, John Glenn. If the committee wants the town manager or somebody wants the town council to submit a letter, that should go through the town manager.
I think even at their level, it should go through my
It
office.
should always go through your office.
So I know there's not a red flag
Okay.
somewhere down the road.
I feel better doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Get my hands slapped again.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Other committee reports. Councilor Ward.
So the 300th met on the 11th. The current website was not meeting our needs. Was handmade by one of our team members who did their good job and is not quite up to snuff. So they will be hiring someone to make a new website that will work a lot better than what we have. There will also, this is exciting, a creation of a Profiles of Newmarket coloring book.
Oh.
Books. And I believe we're still talking about price, we're looking about $5, but something that will come out before the main history book that's going to come out. So something for your kids. There, you can color in a lamprey if you like.
That's cute.
Yeah. Okay. As for the Conservation Commission, that met on the 12th. There wasn't There were a lot of people out, so it was a pretty quick meeting. Yeah, quick meeting. There wasn't really much. Approval of a payment to the cell from the general fund of $849.30. For the info packet that came out, and I'm sorry, is it possible for the Rosa Park one, Rosa Park, not Rosa Park, the Rosa property.
The Rosa property.
I'm thinking Rosa Parks. Just to list like its address on it somewhere. Like this is where this place is, or is it not already on there?
I don't know. I'd have to look.
Yeah.
But I know it's already been
Yeah.
publicized.
Then yeah, that's yeah.
Okay, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah. I mean, sorry, that's on me.
Okay.
Messed up on that. But yeah, that was the last thing.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Ward. Councillor Dornblood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the last Coast Board meeting, and I don't remember the date, I'm sorry, but it was, I think, 3 weeks ago now, we learned that the price for, this is just an information piece, the price for our connector service that we are operating together with the town of Exeter, the Coast Connector, per year is around about $40,000. But the town is only, the town contribution that we're being asked to make, well, it was $26,000, it's $30,000. And I just wanted to make sure that we, in case a foundation that is currently funding that $10,000, that's what I'm getting at, is no longer on board, we would then, experience a jump to $40,000 from $30,000 for the same service. So right now, the price that we're paying is not really reflecting the actual cost that Coast has. And I just thought that we would, it would be good to be, it's good to be aware of that going forward. The Public Transportation Advisory Committee met last week, and we spent the majority of our time identifying goals for this year, just in order to feel like we were actually accomplishing something. We tried to come up with some manageable, clean goals, and this parking piece will be, we'll incorporate that into our goals. One goal is to establish a communication with the school district. This is kind of coming out of the goals that were identified in the master planning process. To look at, the possibility of formalizing some of the trails that go to schools, to provide be able to communicate those trails so that you don't kind of find them by accident necessarily, and to talk about safe routes to schools, and any issues that the schools might have to share around that. We also would like to look at demonstrating a road calming measure, or responding to an issue that exists in New Village, where Cedar Street exits onto Elm Street. It's a one-way with two right, one left and one right turning lane, and because of the width of that intersection, it's not infrequently mistaken as a two-way street, and people drive down Cedar Street the wrong way. In order to address that, we're hoping to establish to basically narrow that space to one lane, left or right, and use some planters or something to that effect to try out a new new design there. Then we'll be working hopefully with the town planner and offer guidance to the wayfinding and navigation project that we're undertaking there. I don't know if you will remember, but the idea is essentially to establish signs for parking and wayfinding throughout town, so that we have a common design that can be used to identify remote lots, to identify how long it takes from here to there, that kind of thing, mostly for pedestrians and bicyclists. Is the wayfinding and the parking signs are self-explanatory, and then we had a presentation or a public comment at a previous meeting from a resident up on Bennett Way, describing the difficulty that is presented when walking into town, crossing the railroad. The railroad, if you can picture it, when you're driving across it, it's kind of wonderful and easy. There's lots of signage, and you're kind of, that's the way it goes. But when you're coming as a pedestrian to that space, the sidewalk coming from town essentially ends, and then you're kind of left to your own devices. How do you cross the railroad there? It's a little unsafe. On the other side, you have a sidewalk that basically ends, doesn't allow, it would be the what is that side? I don't know. I can't think right now. The west side. On the west side of 108, the sidewalk ends, and then you have to cross over to the other side in order to make it across the railroad, which is a terrible place to be crossing the street, because you're essentially invisible to cars. So we talked with Lindsay about the possibility of including that in a project that is supposed to address traffic safety around the intersection of Bennett Way with 108 that DOT has already begun. So hopefully we can make some headway there. And alongside of that, we're looking to identify priority corridors for bicycle and pedestrian movement from the neighborhoods into town, just to begin the process of, so where do we want that kind of traffic to occur, so that when we're planning for road improvements, we can take that into account. So which roads would we want to have bicycle and pedestrian facilities on to facilitate safe traffic there? And along with that, we are also recommending that the town repaint the bicycle sharrows, these little signs in the middle of the pavement that basically identify this is a shared lane for bicyclists and motorists on Main Street, and also add them on Packers Falls Road. The reason for Packers Falls Road is that that way it would be essentially a continuous path all the way into Durham that's identified like that.
We can only do that depending on your next action.
As a bike route. Pardon?
We can only do that depending on your next
Yes,
action.
I know. That's okay. It's taking something for granted, I suppose. Yes, that's right. And we also talked about, and the chief was there at the meeting as well, and he concurred that about the eliminating individual markings for spots on Main Street, and just basically having a parking zone. Each spot is really, really big, much longer than it really needs to be. I don't know if you notice that when you're parking, or if you ever park downtown, you probably all walk. But there's often room for another car if people didn't stick to the line so much. So we're suggesting that for some of those zones where that's possible, eliminating the separation, the individual spots, and having just one long zone the way we used to, might lead to more better utilization of the space. There are some spots, like the one right by Crack Skulls, where that wouldn't be advisable because you can really only park 2 cars. But the one before that, by the Big Bean, that's one just ripe for the taking there, to allow for more parking. So that's the report.
Thank you. Questions or comments for Councillor Dornblit? Councillor Ward?
Just that I've crossed, and when I walk to the Sunset Center for 300th, I walk over that railroad. So yeah, I can confirm that it is a very dangerous, a very exciting place to walk.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, other committee reports. Councillor Blackstone.
So the Cheney Group came to the planning board and they want to build a new rental units in downtown. So this is Kume here, if you're familiar with it. So this is Elm Street, this is Nichols, right? And there's right now an empty lot right there. There used to be a bus stop right there, but they took it out. And it's a 20 unit. They came up with several proposals. The one that the planning board kind of recommended is going to look like this. The first floor is a garage, so there's parking is included with it. It's right now 20 units with 25 parking spaces. Lindsay has some issues with this, with stormwater management and a few things like that, but those are all solvable problems that you have to put money into, right? But so this is, this is the what I personally call contractor grade look. Every big building you ever see looks exactly like this, right? So it's clearly the cheapest thing you could possibly do. This is what the one on Main Street, the 55 plus community, this is what the original proposal looked at, but we were able to modify it so now it looks a lot better. And they were talking about modifying it to look like, but it'll be on Elm, on Nichols, and then there's another street there called Washington, and it'll do those 3 things. So it's a 2-story. Probably right now they're thinking 20 units with 25 parking, so you get your own parking space in the building. So it's hopefully doesn't add parking to the area. So that's exciting. Yeah.
I see there, attached to that parking lot that's right there on the corner, there's a white building there. What is that white building, and is that going to stay there?
I don't know where the white building is.
So it's Lamprey Healthcare now.
Okay.
Lamprey Healthcare.
They own the building. That's who owns the property currently.
What building?
So that corner you're talking about, the bus
Yeah.
stop was there, then there's a little bit of grass area, and then there's a parking lot that's always chained off.
No.
Yeah.
I'm a totally different place.
No, that's exactly it.
Because I lived right there.
And we tried to buy it once.
Yeah, I lived across the street from that building.
And we tried to buy it once.
Right here.
There's a white building right.
Oh, it's a house, yeah.
Yeah. That's,
Oh yeah, that's an interesting problem. So the guy that owns that house, it's 2 units, and the unit on the Nichols side parks his car in that lot, right? And so he came to the meeting and he says, well, that's a problem because, I park my car there, right? And so we said, well, do you have a permit? Do you have a easement? Do you own the land? No, I don't own it. Cheney owns it. I don't have a permit. I don't have anything. But I want to park my car there, right? And we're saying like, well, as the planning board, we really can't help you very much. So that's something that he's going to have to work out. But that building stays there. The white if there's a white building in the back. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's probably going to get torn down.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought you meant the one on Elm Street here.
Is this lot included in the zone that we rezoned last time around, last year?
I
The
don't
historic
think so.
overlay?
It's still in the same downtown zone. I don't think this.
This is not on the-
We did the Main Street,
Right.
you know, but
There were some-
this is one block off of that.
Too far up, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Other questions for Councilor Blackstone? Okay. Other committee reports? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to resolutions and ordinances in the first reading. And there is one this evening, and that is Resolution 2025-2026-33. That's the New Hampshire Department of Transportation and Town Memorandum of Understanding for the road reclassification. And I understand that the town manager would like to request a suspension of the rules to act on this evening. So do I have that motion?
I will make the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Dornblood. So the conversation on the motion on the table is whether to suspend the rules to act on this evening. Is there any discussion? Town manager, would you like to speak to why a suspension of the rules do you feel is necessary?
Yes, we are working, I'm trying to phrase this correctly, because I don't know how much I can say in public. We are working against the clock with some staffing changes at the Department of Transportation that we must act on this sooner than later. We're concerned.
Okay. Okay. Questions or discussion on whether to suspend the rules? Okay. Seeing none, you can call the roll, please.
Councilor Blaisdell.
Aye.
Councilor Martina.
Aye.
Councilor Dornbluth.
Aye.
Councilor Blackstone.
Aye.
Councilor Ward.
Aye.
Councilor Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay. Then at this time, I would accept a motion to approve Resolution 2025-2026-33, authorizing the town manager to execute a memorandum of understanding with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation regarding highway classification. Do I have that motion?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Councilor
Second.
Ward. And thank you for the second, Councilor Dornblood. And once again, we'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As for many years, one of the goals of the town council was to get an urban compact in the town of Newmarket. So we have, in partnership with the Department of Transportation, are seeking to reclassify 5 highway segments totaling about 5.7 miles, transferring their maintenance from the state to town control. The memorandum of understanding formalizes this change, enabling the town to improve the downtown corridor with traffic calming, wayfinding, enhanced pedestrian and bicycle safety, to the committee's request, along Route 108 and nearby roads. This reclassification supports downtown revitalization, walkability, and quality of life, which were previously hindered by state jurisdiction. DOT benefits by reducing its maintenance responsibility and focuses on higher priority corridors. When I say that, please understand that we already maintain by plowing and doing all the sidewalks in a lot of that area already. We double up. The Governor and Executive Council have acknowledged the proposed reclassification, which is detailed in the MOU, and I'm going to go over that in a second, and outlining roles and coordination between the town and the DOT. So the proposed reclassification would take 5 roadway segments. It would take Packers Falls, the entire length, which is 0.9 miles, and go from Class 2 to Class 5, which goes from state to town. Jerry Ave, the 0.2 of a mile, would go from Class 2 to Class 5, which is the same. Grant Road from 152 to 2.5 miles in would go from Class 2 to Class 5, which we would maintain. If you ever notice, there's a section in there that we maintain. It goes back to the state.
Okay.
152 from 108 to Grant Road would go from Class 5 to Urban Compact. We've already have an agreement out there that we would be maintaining that. That's why we have sidewalks and those kind of items on there. This would turn it over to us. And finally, the big one, New Hampshire 108 from Durham Town Line to 92 Exeter Road, which is about the car wash, would go from Class 1, which is major highway, which is 1.5 miles, to Class 4 Urban Compact, which would turn over the control of that to us. There is one exception. Well, there's 2 parts of this. First, I know there was concern about the bridge on the Lamprey River. We would not have to do the next maintenance project for that. DOT would take responsibility, which is currently scheduled for 2032, which would be a reconstruction of that bridge. And after that, the bridge would be transferred to the town for maintenance responsibility in the future. The other things that we'd agree to is provide 48 advance notice to DOT prior to implemented restrictions affecting commercial vehicle traffic. One of the big concerns besides commercial vehicle traffic, it's also an evacuation route for the Seabrook nuclear power plant, so we want to make sure that we don't close it for the reason. And any modified temporary closure restrictions, we talked to DOT. Submit permanent infrastructure modifications, including changes in lane width, geometric designs, DOT for technical review prior to protect prior federal investment and evaluate impacts on regional commercial traffic operations. One of the problem is if they use federal money to do a project and we change it too much, they could be on the hook to pay back the federal project. So we'd have to just check those things out with them. And just that traffic control device complied with manual, the uniform traffic control devices standards, which we do anyways. Fiscal impact, the action doesn't require appropriation at this time. However, the reclassification will result in ongoing operational costs implications to the Department of Public Works. The town will incur costs with winter maintenance, plowing, sanding, de-icing of those roads, routine maintenance of potholes, repair, drainage, shoulder work, sweeping, pavement management, and periodic resurfacing, signage, pavement markings, and traffic control device changes, and eventually the 108 bridge maintenance following the DOT completion. And we would just do that by incorporating them in the normal operations. But I do recommend passage of this. It's been a long time coming. And I want to thank the town engineer for really spearheading this effort in the last few years to get this past the goal line.
Nice work. Okay. Questions for the town manager or discussion on this resolution? Councilor Glazebrook.
Well, when we talked about this a while back, the costs specifically, there was funding that I thought might come along with the change. Is that true?
Yes. There's a formula that goes into place that as soon as we take over the maintenance, we get and I don't know the formula off the top of my head, but we do get money from them to maintain it.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councilor Lamatino.
I did ask the town manager, just out of curiosity, why 108 stopped at the car wash as opposed to going all the way down Ashmont Road, if you want to just put that.
Because from the car wash on, it's going to take a large investment in the near future due to widening, as well as there's already discussions of reconstruction the railroad crossing bridge, as well as doing Ash Swamp Road with a new.
Right.
We didn't want to do that. Let the state do that. We'll take it from there. And also, if you look, the car wash is about where we stop maintenance with our sidewalks already.
Yep.
So that just made sense to do it there as well.
Okay. Other questions for the town manager or any other discussion on this resolution? Okay. I'd like to echo the commendation for Lindsay and all the work that you've done putting this together. I know this has been, like you said, a long time coming, and it's exciting to see it. It's exciting to see it come to fruition and give the town more agency in how we manage our roads and our walkways. Okay. Seeing no other comments, if you could call the roll.
Council Glazebrook.
Aye.
Council Lamatino.
Aye.
Council Dornbluth.
Aye.
Council Blackstone.
Aye.
Council Ward.
Aye.
Council Conley.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay. The next item is new business and correspondence. And the first sub-bullet is correspondence to the town council. Is there any correspondence to be read into the record this evening?
There is none.
Okay. And the next item is closing comments. Are there any closing comments by town councilors this evening? Councilor Dornbluth.
I had the opportunity to go to see a presentation by John Herman on Wentworth Cheswell today at the public library, which was excellent. And if you ever have the opportunity to see one, I highly recommend it. It was fun. It was good. It made me feel much better walking out of the library and walking through town. I felt like I was connected to, different periods in time, and quite special.
He's pretty easy to listen to. His
Yeah.
energy is infectious.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilor Drumblett. Other closing comments? The only thing on my list, councilors, is that, coming up, we usually reorganize our committee assignments. And one of the things that I would like to try to do is to see if we can get people in different spaces, and get folks thinking about how we might sort of organize our assignments differently. I'd like to make sure that we get different voices in these spaces as best we can. So as we're thinking about that, if there are committees that you would be particularly interested in making a shift to, if you could let me know, so that we can take that under advisement when we're making the assignments. Is it next month? April. Just to kind of put that
At
bug
the
in
election.
your ear. Okay. Any other closing comments? Okay, seeing none. Our next meeting is March 4th, 2026, right before the town election. And if there are no objections, then I will consider us adjourned. Thank you so much, councilors.
Thank you.
This